Why the Night King didn't fight Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. Was he scared of him and could he have won? Full deep dive breakdown. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe if you love House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, and deep dives into Westerosi lore. Let's begin. In the shadow of winter, where the winds scream through the trees and the dead rise from the snow, a single question continues to haunt Game of Thrones fans around the world. Why didn't the Night King fight Jon Snow? We waited 8 seasons for the ultimate showdown. We watched Jon rise from bastard to king in the north. We watched the Night King raise armies of the dead, ride an undead dragon, and break the wall. And yet, when the final moment came, he didn't even lift a sword against Jon Snow. Was it fear, strategy, destiny, or something far more mysterious? Today, we're diving deep into this chilling mystery, exploring whether the Night King was scared of Jon Snow, what would have happened if they did fight, and why that battle never happened. Let's uncover the truth. Let's go beyond the wall. The build-up, a war years in the making. Since Season 1, Jon Snow and the White Walkers were on a collision course. Jon was the only major character who took the threat from the north seriously from the start. He saw the White Walkers firsthand at Hardhome. He killed a walker with Longclaw, his Valyrian steel sword. He united the wildlings, warned the southern kingdoms, and risked everything beyond the wall. And above it all loomed the Night King, silent, chilling, and deadly. He represented death incarnate. And Jon was supposed to be his opposite, a man resurrected by the Lord of Light, chosen by fate. The signs were clear. A duel was coming, a final battle between ice and fire. Or so we thought. The Night King's motives, what did he really want? Before we ask why he didn't fight Jon Snow, we need to ask something more important. What did the Night King actually want? The show tells us bits and pieces through Bran Stark and ancient lore. The Night King was created by the children of the forest to destroy men, but eventually turned against his creators. He wasn't just a mindless zombie king. He had purpose. He had tactics. He had a goal. According to Bran, that goal was simple. He wants to erase this world, and I am its memory. So instead of seeking out Jon Snow, the Night King sets his sights on Bran Stark, the three-eyed raven. Because in his mind, killing Bran meant destroying the history of man. Jon was a warrior, but Bran was the key. That's the first reason the Night King avoided fighting Jon. He wasn't the target. Strategy over showmanship. Why the Night King kept his distance. The Night King wasn't arrogant. He was calculating. In The Long Night, Season 8, Episode 3, we see him calmly walking through the chaos at Winterfell, ignoring the fight around him. He watches Jon fight his way through whites. He lets his army deal with the living. He even resurrects the dead again, as a barrier between himself and Jon. Why? Because he wasn't interested in dueling. He was winning. Think about it. Why risk fighting a skilled warrior who had already killed a White Walker, when you can let your unstoppable army drown him? The Night King didn't fear Jon. He just didn't see a reason to get involved in any way that wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't cowardice. It was cold-blooded calculation. Was the Night King actually afraid of Jon Snow? Still, the question lingers. Was he afraid of Jon? It's easy to say no. The Night King is shown to be emotionless, unstoppable, and terrifying. But let's not forget, Jon Snow is one of the few people who could actually kill him. Jon had Valyrian steel. Jon had killed a White Walker before. And Jon had died and come back, making him almost supernatural himself. Could the Night King have recognized Jon as a legitimate threat? Absolutely. He saw what Jon did at Hardhome. He saw him fight at the wall. He may have even understood Jon's unique connection to Rhaegar, the Targaryen bloodline, and the prophecy of Azor Ahai. If there was anyone who posed a threat, it was Jon. So maybe, just maybe, his decision to avoid the fight wasn't just strategic. It was prudent, not fear, but respect. Could Jon have beaten the Night King? Now let's flip the script. What if they had fought? Could Jon Snow have actually beaten the Night King in single combat? Let's break it down. Jon's strengths. He's a skilled swordsman, trained by Ned Stark, Ser Alliser, and others. He's faced White Walkers and killed them. He's fought giants, whites, wildlings, and the dead. He's courageous to a fault. And most importantly, he's wielding Valyrian steel. The Night King's strengths. Superhuman strength and reflexes. Immune to fire, he walks through Dragonflame without a scratch. He's never shown using a weapon, but his ice javelins took down a dragon in one shot. He can raise the dead at will, and control them instantly. He's ancient, experienced, magical. If it were just a sword fight, Jon might have stood a chance. But it would have been an uphill battle. One slip, one hesitation, and Jon would have been dead. This is why many fans believe the show robbed us of the fight. Because a one-on-one duel would have been epic, and maybe even winnable, for Jon. Why Arya killed the Night King instead. When Arya Stark leapt out of the shadows and stabbed the Night King with a Valyrian steel dagger, fans were shocked. Some were thrilled, others were furious, because the show spent seasons building up Jon Snow as the chosen one. The prince that was promised. The resurrected savior. The leader who united the North. But in the end, he didn't deliver the final blow. So why Arya? Reason 1. Narrative surprise. The writers wanted to subvert expectations. They felt Jon defeating the Night King would be too predictable. Reason 2. Arya was trained by the Faceless Men. She could sneak past the dead and get close, where Jon, for all his bravery, would have drawn too much attention. Reason 3. Bran gave her the Valyrian dagger for a reason. Some believe it was destiny. Was it satisfying for all viewers? No, but from a tactical standpoint, Arya got the job done. Still, that doesn't explain why Jon and the Night King never crossed blades. Missed opportunity. What could have been? There's no denying it. Game of Thrones built up Jon versus the Night King like a final boss fight in a video game. Jon staring him down at Hardhome. The Night King locking eyes with him at Eastwatch. The dragon battle at Winterfell, where Jon is blocked by whites. The rising tension, the parallels, the prophecy. All signs pointed to a duel of destiny. Instead, Jon spends the final act of the Battle of Winterfell fighting whites and screaming at an undead dragon. It felt like setup with no payoff. Many fans felt robbed, not because Arya killed the Night King, but because Jon didn't even get the chance to try. The entire prophecy of Azor Ahai, the Lord of Light, and Jon's resurrection, seemed to vanish. A massive opportunity, lost in the snow. The show's ending versus the books. Different outcomes. Let's step back and ask, will the books tell a different story? In George R.R. Martin's novels, the Night King doesn't even exist, at least not in the same way. The others are mysterious and powerful, but they don't have a named leader like the show's Night King. However, there is a prophecy about Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised, who will rise again to defeat the darkness. And many clues point to Jon Snow. Being that figure, born of ice, Stark, and fire, Targaryen, killed and resurrected, wielder of a legendary sword, a reluctant hero who leads by example. So in the books, we may yet see Jon face off against the ultimate threat, and we may finally get the battle the show denied us. The symbolism, ice versus fire. Jon and the Night King represent something deeper. They are opposites in a mythic sense. The Night King, cold, death, silence, winter, inevitability. Jon Snow, warmth, life, sacrifice, honor, rebirth. They mirror each other like yin and yang. Jon stands for hope. The Night King stands for oblivion. Their duel would have been more than just steel and strength. It would have been a clash of symbols, a final test of humanity's survival. The fact that we didn't get this moment is why fans still talk about it. Because it wasn't just about the action. It was about meaning. Conclusion. Why the Night King didn't fight Jon Snow. So why didn't the Night King fight Jon Snow? The answer is complex. Strategically, he didn't need to. His army was winning. Tactically, he wanted to destroy Bran first. Personally, he may have respected Jon's power, or feared it. Narratively, the show chose surprise over destiny. Symbolically, the confrontation was implied, but never delivered. Could Jon have beaten him? Maybe. Would it have been epic? Absolutely. But in the end, the writers took a different path.